Sometimes it's not about the numbers, it's about healing your soul. YouTube will punish me for making this video because it will not capture a lot of views. Sadly, the YouTube algorithm is not that inclusive with non-English natives nor with underrated bronze, and instead of getting frustrated with what's about to come, I prefer to heal myself with a good video. Judging with your soul, it's not bad, it's actually beneficial because it's all about creating and speaking about things which you truly believe in, and by doing so people will feel it. They will appreciate more and more, especially if you're talking about a brand which is closer to their heart. And today it is the case because we're looking at a beautiful Doxa divers trio placed right where they belong in the Mediterranean Sea. Is Doxa a good brand to collect? A lot of people are asking themselves. Is Doxa a scam or one of the most legendary divers watches brands the world ever offered us? I'd go with the second part. I'm actually going to tell you a secret. I gave up on all my Rolexes just to collect legendary watches. Crazy, isn't it? I basically gave up on perfection, on brand recognition, on value retention to buy iconic watches. So the heart won over reason. Selling Rolexes to chase iconic watches is actually good. Because if you want to understand the watch world, you cannot remain inside of a bubble surrounded by correct watches according to the society. You have to dig, you have to read, you have to map your own world of watches. This is what I basically did for the past 2 years. I gave up on value retention, I gave up on brand reconnaissance because I felt I'd remain stuck with money blocked into things which weren't relevant for me as a person. And my word, how relevant the watch collecting became when I started to chase iconic watches. Concluding that understanding and knowing is far more relevant and precious than retaining. That's a homework for you to think about as well. The purpose of this video isn't about selling you the idea that underrated brands like Doxa needs to be collected. It's up to you. However, if you are already sold on the brand and you might want to try one of their legendary models, I feel obligated to show you what are the differences between them because it matters. So, in front of us I prepared 3 important platforms, the Doxa Sub 300T, the Sub 300 and the Sub 600T. 2 of them iconic watches, the third one not so iconic but important as well from the design perspective. We also discussed about the Sub 200 version with a twisted case originally made in the same factory with the Omega Seamaster or the Speedmaster. But today it's all about the bigger boys. Doxa Sub, to not be confused with the mall brand Doxa, was a contributor of many things in the watch world. That's a fact. As I keep saying, after Omega, Blancpain and Rolex, Doxa should be the 4th most important divers watches brand and the most affordable out of the mentioned. Whether we're talking about Jacques Cousteau's adventures while wearing the Sub 300T Shark Hunter, the definition and the meaning of the most legible color dial, the orange developed by Doxa in the Lake Neuchâtel, or the famous beads of rice bracelet with the Expandro feature offered for the first time by Doxa. In time, the Doxa Sub 300T was known and made popular among people with serious jobs like utilitarian diving, welding underwater, or simply exploring the oceans, and that's a pure fact. The old Doxas are highly collectible and sold for thousands of dollars, captured and worn by collectors with pride. That means something, it's not artificial. Doxa has a strong base to build upon modern watches. Now, the sad truth is that the modern reissues are coming a bit off trend. Although they are made with the function first approach in mind, they're very well crafted, almost exactly as the legendary ones. The truth is, the tonneau watches are not that appreciated in the current days. The Oyster case or the Genta designs are dictating the pace starting from 2020, as an FYI. And for brands that relies on their iconic tonneau designs, it's kind of hard to stay in the hype. For example, because they don't understand, they released recently a mid-size version in 39mm, but in my view, Doxa, the size wasn't the problem. It's just unfortunate because people do not collect tonneau watches. The price point might be a problem as well because it heads towards the sweet spot of $3,000, where for some model, Tudor is the king. Now, referring to the purpose of these divers, they are charming in their own way, and we've covered already the idea that these are made with the function-first approach in mind, so tailored to be inclusive and useful in any circumstances. For operating with gloves, we have the Hacksaw iconic bezel with the decompression sub-bezel markers, which helps you to know how much you have to decompress before reaching the surface. We have the diagonal dials, which focus on distinguishing the hands clearly, and since we're talking about diving context, which relies in minutes not hours, the minute hand is in this context the most highlighted and important in sizing. That's a pure example of function first. Another example, the markers are offered in two tones associated in reverse contrast to indicate the accuracy of the elapsed time. Obviously, the themed dial colors, with the orange one as being the most iconic for the brand, recognizable as a Doxa color being potentially the most legible color underwater. And then moving towards the exterior, the robust case design, which offers cases up to 1200 meters in the case of the 300T, 300 meters for the 300 model, and 60 bar waterproofness for the 600T diver, which features a fatty caseback. So in terms of comfort and looks, there is a big difference between the 300T and the 300. They have a similar case from the front, but the difference is noticeable from the side. The 300T has a thicker bezel with a flat sapphire, exactly as the original one, with more space between the bezel and the case to be grabbed properly. Having a thicker profile with a tonneau volume which is not that arched, the dial having bigger and better loomed markers compared to the 300, so we can spot which one is the utilitarian one. Moving towards the sub 300, the case and the dial has basically the same diameter but better curve towards the wrist, with a thinner profile and a reduced case back, plus on top a box sapphire. So the umbrella shape really lays down on the wrist surface, and together with the curved straps, it's the chef's kiss on the wrist. That's why for me this was the most worn watch in 2023. As advantages and downsides, the 300T is the iconic one, which looks small on the wrist, but it's robust, it's heavier in combo with the bracelet and needs to be adjusted accordingly to offer comfort. Where in the case of the 300 with the box crystal, it hugs the wrist better, it's way slimmer and has a cost movement, and if you choose the carbon version, the experience improves even more because of its exotic uber lightweight color and weight. But again, Tudor, the 600T is very nice and it was purchased based on the acquisition of a homage of it. That's right, the Cistern 600. Imagine, I did enjoy the case profile of the Cistern and I said for sure the Doxa model must be the right thing. But what is funny, the Cistern model is thinner and adapted to a waterproofness of 20 bar, so the case profile is deceiving. In reality, the Doxa Sub 600T is a solid tool featuring as well a thick rubber and a solid clasp which complements the nice faceted case. So in reality it feels like a solid tool despite its narrow diameter of 40mm. This is indeed a ratio to acknowledge between the thicker case and the weight compared to the Cistern, which feels like a small sized diver. Also, a surprising thing to consider, the actual bracelets and straps are tailored for each model. For example, although the 300 and the 300T have similar case designs and 20mm between the lugs, because the cases are different in thickness and case profile, the bracelets are as well. For example, the Beads of Rice bracelet of the 300T is thicker with an adjustable diving clasp, same for the rubber version having more substance in there. Where the 300 model with the box sapphire has a thinner bracelet with a smaller clasp and classic micro adjustments, the rubber being as well thinner to flow better with the case profile. And same example for the 600T has a faceted bracelet with a clasp with push pins, which doesn't look from the same movie with the case, so if you're trying to consider the 600T version, just please check out the rubber options as well. Some of these models are already brave beaters on the channel, analyzed and reviewed from different perspectives, so I recommend you to turn on your smart TV and check out brave beaters on the smart TV YouTube app. And I'm really curious to know which one out of these Doxas you like more. Please let me know in the comments below. And as usual, if you're new around, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much, thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave and stay safe.